Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's BioIT World Web Symposium on Adaptive Research, a Clinical Trials Renaissance, which is sponsored by Maxis IT. We're very grateful to them for their support. I'll introduce the first of our three speakers in just a couple of minutes. Let me just set the stage for you with a brief introduction as to what we aim to cover in the next 90 minutes. And as you've heard, we would like to make this as interactive as possible. You have the tools there to engage all of the three speakers today in questions, and we'll encourage you to submit those as we proceed through the webcast. The draft guidance for adaptive clinical trials published by FDA addresses the apprehension in the pharma industry by simplifying regulatory issues and setting realistic expectations, as well as outlining standards and requirements to be attained through a suitable infrastructure. Adaptive trials offers huge benefits because of its inherent strong control of a study, which becomes even more powerful with harmonized processes and an integrated computing environment. But this new approach requires a business transformation and an enterprise-wide architectural alignment, an exit from traditional mindsets in clinical trials. People, processes, computing infrastructure all must become truly synergistic in order to reap the benefits offered by clinical trials, thereby minimizing risks or even worse, biased actions that could jeopardize success. Each decision must be supported by strong evidence indicating why, what, who, when, and even how. A holistic infrastructure requires true harmonization and complete integration, that is, one that can deliver built-in integrity, including real-time metrics. In today's symposium, we aim to provide a 360-degree view into the key issues surrounding adaptive design and the need for a scalable infrastructure for conducting adaptive clinical trials that imbues a timely decision-making process. Later on in the webcast, you'll hear from Jerry Schindler, Vice President of Late-Stage Clinical Development Statistics at Merck, one of the true experts and pioneers in this field. You'll also hear from one of our hosts of the webcast, Maulik Shaw. But first, I'm delighted to introduce Frank Newby, who is the Chief Operating Officer of CDISC. Frank is going to sort of set the stage for us with a sort of a broad overview of the current state of play in clinical trial design, standards, and so on. Frank, delighted to have you join us. Over to you.
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks to everyone for joining us today for this important discussion. My name is Frank Newby. I am, as Kevin said, the COO for CDISC, the Clinical Data Interchange Standards Consortium. Been in the industry in some way, shape, or form since 1981, and during that time I've seen a lot of changes and some things that haven't changed. One of the things that we'll talk about today as a foundational element to be able to do adaptive clinical trials are standards. The agenda for my talk is some background on CDISC, the problem, and a proposed solution. What's available from CDISC today, some of the new work that's going on, how we interact with FDA, and some resources that CDISC can make available to you. So some questions to start with. Have you, and you don't have to answer these now, but answer them for yourself. Have you heard of CDISC? Is your organization a member of CDISC? If not, would you consider joining? Do you have internal data standards? And if you do, good. If you don't, would you consider using CDISC standards? And if you do have internal data standards, are you looking to switch, to change to the CDISC standards? And then how do you handle data reporting and analysis for regular trials, for adaptive trials, and then those obvious questions that come in from left field?